All right. I know this is a wrestling podcast. I'm getting this out of the way in the cold open. This is an Indiana Hoosiers 2015 Pinstripe Bowl champions hat. They lost that game in overtime, 44-41 to Duke. They are now the national champions after being the worst team in college football history. With the worst losses of all time up until this season. Congratulations to them. This hat is now officially the funniest thing I own.
Cheers.
All right, let's talk some wrestling.
Uh-oh.
Yes, boy!
French toast is the exchange student that you have like a 3-week affair with.
Fake. We can see that you don't have pants on.
Somebody hit somebody with a pie. Do something.
Giovanni yelling we're out of time as we go off the air.
Giovanni yelling a lot of things tonight.
And welcome to the Mark It Down podcast.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the Mark It Down podcast. My name is Nick Cummings, joined as always by James Ashanti. Back here once again to review another episode of AEW Dynamite. This one was not branded, but it was still pretty good.
Yeah, I love the wrestling tonight.
Yeah, this was a very, very wrestling centric show. I think we really only got one in-ring promo, which is where we are going to start tonight with MJF. But before that, Taz is back. It's Taz.
I was so conflicted because I was so happy to have Taz back, but I'm like, is the trade-off no Brian?
I'm curious how that's going to go. I've heard that Shivani wants to try to do less Dynamites because then he's doing both Dynamite and Collision, especially on days where he's announcing both in the same night. It kind of, hurts his voice. So I think Shivani, depending on who's on vacation and the situation and everything, it might end up being more of a Brian, Taz, and Excalibur thing, and Shivani will do more of the in-ring and some of the backstage stuff. And then Shivani can fill in where as need be, and he'll stick to the play-by-play Collision. That's what I've read. And that was the plan before Taz had to go and get his surgery. So I imagine they're going to go back to that.
I'm cool with whatever. I like a rotating table. I'm not crazy about it when they make changes throughout the night. That's always a little jarring for me. But if 1 week is Nigel and 1 week is Brian and 1 week is Taz and 1 week is Shivani, that works for me. That I could have fun with. But the biggest thing was bigger than the return of just Taz was the Taz technique breakdown.
Yep. I
love that. That was like old school AEW.
Yeah. Did you see when he was breaking down the label lock? I almost called it the S lock, like Brian did last week.
That's really why he's not here this week. He got copyright jailed.
But did you see the graphic that they put up to show the S script? It said S script Jones. So they're just leaning all the way in.
I mean, they have to. They have to. But yeah, I was really happy to have him back.
Yeah, I'm happy he's back, and I'm happy he's healthy enough. I don't know if he's on the road or he lives in in Orlando. But either way, it was nice to see him there.
Yeah, a little annoyed, and we're going to talk about it with the matches. A little annoyed. There was like nothing regarding Hook.
Very little, yes.
And he's always done his best to keep it separate, but it almost just feels like a glaring, like it's a Renee Moxley thing for me, where it's just like your husband's been accused of war crimes, and Renee's just like, I don't know, right? Like same thing here, but whatever.
Yeah, he does what he does. It's not my business.
Yeah.
Before we jump into MJF's interview, just want to say hello to Maria, who got here early, who thought Dynamite was excellent, and we say hi to You Know It as well. But let's hit that first segment, which was an in-ring interview with the AEW World Champion MJF. And after insulting one Tony Schiavone and the crowd, MJF then runs down his life of luxury, saying the reason that he has all of these things is because he is the best wrestler on God's green earth. And with the Triple B, the AEW World Championship, that is his proof. So if you see another wrestler claim to be the best on your TV, then you should change the channel because they're talking out of their ass.
I love that line. I thought that was great. It's a shot at basically anybody else in AEW, or like on a surface level, it's a shot at Bandito, the Ring of Honor champion, who was touted as Wrestler of the Year last year. Surface level, it's a shot at Bandito. Deeper level, nobody's on my level. Doesn't matter what title you might have in this company, you're not the world champion. Deepest level of that onion, I don't care what channel you're watching, what company you're watching, what letters they have. If they ain't me, it ain't worth it. I thought that was great work from MJF. A good, like, subtle, not so subtle dig at the opposition. Not the opposition, the opposition.
Yeah, because, there's a guy with a cult of personality surrounding him that calls himself the best in the world. Yeah. And, MJF, I'm sure a lot of people went there as well. But, I think you bring a good point where it was very layered, that line.
Yeah.
Speaking of Bandito and MJF's defense against him last week, Max says that Bandito is just the first in a long line of losers who are going to find out that it is the year of the devil and nobody isn't good on his level. As he finishes up, Brody King's music then hits and he comes down to the ring and he immediately goes nose to nose with MJF. And Shivani's just like, good luck, buddy, and hands MJF the mic and gets the hell out of Dodge.
I mean, he did tell him to shut up.
Yeah,
he did tell him to get his triple chin out of there. So he did.
He also told him to make sure his geriatric arm stays up and keep the mic near his face at the start. Brody then says that after what MJF did to Bandito last week, all he can think about was all the ways he was going to hurt Max, like ripping through his chest and pulling out his spine. But Brody says he's not going to do that because we all know MJF is a bitch. And if he puts his hands on Max, then he won't get what he wants, which is a match tonight for the AEW title. Max is like, all right, hang on, buddy. Let me back up and thinks this over. And he goes in the corner and like ponders it for like a second. And he's like, no. He's afraid of Brody because of course he isn't.
Of course not. Of course not.
But because Brody just comes out, he gets all these people to bark when Brody is all bark and no bite. And Max questions on what ground King even has to challenge him, saying that Brody has only beaten tomato cans recently, and until he beats elite level talent, this match is not going to take place. MJF then makes one more thing clear. If Brody ever interrupts the champ again, they're going to have a real problem. And as he says that, he's pointing his finger into Brody's chest before realizing to whom he is doing that. And then he's just like, I should leave. All right, I got to go. I got things to do. I'll see all you guys later. Bye. And he just slowly gets out of the ring and leaves and heads up the ramp as Brody just stares him down the entire time.
I loved it. I thought this was a good top to bottom. I thought this was a great MJF segment. I thought Brody came across the way he needed to, which was fantastic. He intimidating and hungry. And I am just now expecting that we're going to get a Brody King run, that he's going to beat some big names in AEW, because we've talked about this before, that Brody, we know how great he is, but from time to time, it just sort of feels like he can't string together big wins. So if this is how we get there, hell yeah. MJF, and we went through this on his last title run. So I'm intrigued that they're doing it again, and they're doing it so early. MJF's last title run, it felt like blood in the water, and the sharks were surrounding him.
Oh, yeah, especially towards the end.
And it got to the point that he couldn't keep his head above water, and eventually he got dragged down by those sharks. They're doing it out the gate here. And by doing it out the gate here, like, there's obviously sort of a level of, well, we know the first challenger is never going to be the winning challenger. Like, we know that. Like, we knew Bandito. We love Bandito. We know Bandito wasn't winning the world title. I don't have high hopes that Brody's going to win the world title, but I am looking forward to the match. I don't expect him to win it from MJF is what I should clarify.
Right.
But I'm looking forward to the match. I'm looking forward now. As our title said, we got 3 big winners tonight. Swerve, Joe, Omega. Depending on the order, it could go any which way.
And let's not forget either, Hangman Adam Page also just became a trios champion last week. So I know he didn't get the pinfall, but that's a big win on his resume as well. So
absolutely
add him to the list of guys circling along with Brody.
And clearly with AEW, doesn't matter if you're wearing one title, it doesn't mean you can't win a second. The last AEW champion was also the trios champion. So very possible.
Yeah, and I like this. I saw a lot of people saying, when they announced MJF was going to be at the show, I saw a lot of, Brody's coming for him tonight. He's the next number one contender. And I don't know if he'll be next, but he is definitely on the list of people who are going to be going after MJF. Now, I think it'll probably be separate from the other guys we just mentioned because at minimum, Joe, Swerve, and Hangman all have this kind of through line with each other. And then they also threw Kenny into that mix the other week when he came out when Hangman and Swerve were cutting their promo together. So all those guys seem connected in some way, and I don't know if it's going to lead to some sort of multi-man match for the number one contender or some sort of or a match where they're all in it, which sounds insane. But
I mean, AEW typically does not give us many multi-man matches for the world title. And typically, I don't know that we've ever gone above a triple threat for the world title. Maybe we've had
four-way.
Which one?
4 pillars.
Okay, the 4. Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. That was a triple threat plus Sammy Guevara. But
jeez, Sammy taking strays.
He's married to Ty Mello. I can say whatever the fuck I want. He's still winning. So whatever. But yeah, no. Bottom line, we don't typically get them that many. Right now, going off anybody who's shown interest in that world title right now, you have Kenny, Swerve, Joe, Hangman, Brody, MJF. That's it. We're getting an elimination chamber. That's clearly it. That's clearly it. I don't know what we're going to call it. We're getting the elimination chamber.
That would be hilarious. I'm sure that there's copyright problems with that, but it would be great. That being said, I definitely see some sort of series of matches to probably weed out a few of these guys. I don't think we'll end up with Hangman Swerve again just yet.
Yeah,
but
nor should we. Nor should we.
Hangman and Joe are going to probably, have a one-on-one at some point. Swerve and Kenny look like they're going for each other. And those guys seem like that's where you head. And then maybe you put the winner of those two. Yeah. And the winner of that faces MJF at the next pay-per-view, considering how much time you have until Revolution.
And realistically, you don't even need to do that. I'll be real with you. I totally get where you're coming from. By the way, guys, we see all the comments. We can't wait to chat with you guys. We're just finishing up gabbing ourselves here. I personally wouldn't have them all wrestle each other. I like this idea that they're all sort of wrestling other people while still being the top contenders. And at one point or another, they all challenge MJF. We never got Swerve MJF during the first title run.
True.
Let it happen here. MJF Hangman we got, so it doesn't need to be the priority match, but there's a whole different dynamic here because now MJF is the champion. Kenny versus MJF, we only got the one time on Collision when Kenny was trying to stop MJF from breaking his record.
Yeah.
So very different dynamic there as well. So, and of course, Joe going after MJF for the title again, that's got to trigger some PTSD for MJF. So there's a lot of fun storytelling that they can do. And not all of them need to be pay-per-view matches. We know that we've been talking about it. Their next pay-per-view is until March. So if Brody gets a match for the title before the next pay-per-view, I think that works too.
I actually think that's probably what they're lining up. I think Brody might be the next guy to end up facing MJF because that is a match. As much as I love Brody, you can have that match on Dynamite.
Yes, I agree.
And like I said, considering we don't have another pay-per-view until March, I do think Max will probably get one more defense in before that pay-per-view. And the other 4 guys will probably sort themselves out by Revolution. If not at Revolution.
And I think it does wonders for Brody to have that match on Dynamite. because we love Brody and so many people love Brody. But I wouldn't blame somebody who's hesitant about buying a pay-per-view off of Brody being the main eventer. But if you do that on Dynamite, all right, wow, he showed up and showed out. I'll buy that next match.
Yeah.
I'll pay for that next one.
That's a phenomenal TV main event right there.
Exactly.
And like you said, they're building Brody up right now to be something big. And I don't think it will just be for one run to the title to lose that match and then he goes away.
I agree.
He's probably going to end up being somebody within the next 6 months who ends up with one of those middle belts, whether it's the international, the continental, or the TNT. That would be my
100%. And quite frankly, those are titles he should be winning right now. We love. I feel like I'm defending him or defending our love for him. We do love Brody, but MJF kind of does have a point. Like, who have you beaten to be in a position to go for the world title? Like, he was doing very well. He was doing very well earlier or late last year, and that's where he definitely started to build some momentum. Obviously, the Brodito tag team did wonders to get him some big wins, but yeah, we're talking a lot about this, so I feel bad, but I'm very excited for the future of the world title scene, and quite frankly, it's been a while since I've been excited for the world title scene. Like, the Moxley Death Riders era was hard for a lot of us. It just was. And we enjoyed Hangman as champion. Like, we were happy to have Hangman as champion, but he feuded with the same people over and over. This feels, even though this is MJF's second title reign, this feels fresh. So I'm very hyped.
Yeah, I'm excited for it too. And I just like the difference of all of these guys gunning for the title. You know,
100%.
like, I feel a lot of times, and it's not just in AEW, it's in most wrestling companies, there's usually one linear challenger, and sometimes there's two and you get the triple threat. Occasionally there's three and you get a four-way. But most of the time, it's you get the big one-on-one match. And the fact that we'll probably end up getting that, but MJF almost being in 5 feuds at the moment,
I know,
instead of just one, is pretty cool. And him, especially at the end of the show, you can see his level of anxiety as he was watching that Swerve Kevin Knight match.
Yep.
I
love that because that was something he used to do too a lot. Be in the crowd watching, or be in his box crowd watching. I thought that was a nice return for classic MJF.
No, I agree. And I think I saw Maria said this was a return to classic MJF tonight in the comments. And I concur, but him up there panicking because he needs one of these guys to lose.
Yeah.
He needs it. And Joe won earlier in the night. So did Kenny. And he's just like, can at least one of these guys move so I can knock them out of contention? And I think that's going to be the other through line of this whole thing is these guys are going to keep winning their matches. And they're going to keep coming and coming and coming for the championship. And at some point, somebody's going to break through and get that title opportunity.
Love it.
All right. We got a lot of comments from a lot of people here. Start with You Know It. We'll just, I guess, run through all of them. Taz and Excalibur being reunited. Only have one more reunion to go, and it's Toni Storm and Mariah May.
We have a while. I, in my heart, believe it will happen one day. I just think we are away from it.
I agree. You know it saying that the I'm the best of the world line was clearly shade at WWE. I think it was a combination of things.
Yeah. I don't think he was necessarily throwing shade at WWE versus him just saying, I don't care where you're from. WWE, TNA, Ring of Honor, CMLL, AAA, New Japan Pro Wrestling. I'm better than you. And you know
it. Jinx, you owe me a Coke. And it's You Know It. Maria called us excellence. Fernando said it was fire.
Yep.
He's very hyped about Brody. He thinks that there should be more fresh faces in the main event picture, going as far as to say, and I know you said it twice here, dude, and that Brody should be the, for the main event title scene. I think if there was one in February, that might be the case, but it's just because there is so long.
Yeah, I agree. It's unfortunate.
The last pay-per-view and the next one, we are barely halfway to the next pay-per-view from World's End. So if we are at all. So I think Brody would have gotten an opportunity maybe at a different point in the year. Just right now, unfortunately, he's in that slot where I think he's probably going to be on one of the big-time dynamites between now and Revolution.
It's less about Brody and more about timing.
Exactly. Maria saying that was vintage MJF. I believe I mentioned that. Let's see. MJF can force Brody to face Hangman or Swerve or Kenny to eliminate one of those people. That's also a fair point. It could be one of those guys. But like I mentioned, I think they're going to try to keep Brody separate just so he can kind of get that shot a little earlier than the rest of them. As I mentioned, Fernando saying that it should be Brody.
Yep.
And then it like my hat, so I can skip all that stuff. Let's see. Fernando also thinking Brody is very capable of selling the main event to pay-per-view, James. I know you said some people might be trepidatious about that.
I would absolutely buy a pay-per-view where Brody King was challenging for the world title in the main event? 100%. Do I blame some people? Would I blame people for not doing it? Not necessarily. It's a lot of money, and when you're confident in what you think the outcome is going to be, I get it sometimes. But all my point was with what I was saying before, I think him being on Dynamite in that main event gets more eyes on him as a main event feel than losing in the main event of a pay-per-view.
Yeah, and I like we keep saying we love Brody. I don't know the last time he's main event. I don't know if he's ever main evented a pay-per-view.
I don't think so.
Yeah, and he's main evented, I think, some Dynamites and stuff, but that was mostly during the Brodito run.
Yeah.
And maybe he did, maybe one of the Derby matches did as well. But
maybe.
Yeah.
I even that I don't know for sure, but maybe.
Yeah, but building him up to this match, if you have it on, like, I don't know if it's Beach Break, that's the next branded Dynamite, or maybe Fighter Fest or Fight for the Fall, and whatever it is, you build up to one of those, you have this match, it'll be big, it'll get the time it needs.
100%.
Even at a loss, it can help propel him to a main event slot.
100%.
Especially when, they continue to push him afterwards. It's saying that it feels like MJF will probably defend the title on TV matches, which is what I think they're going to do.
Yeah,
he's going to have to do, considering, again, the pay-per-view schedule at the moment. Maria actually not liking the crowdedness of the world title picture at the moment.
If I may, Maria, I don't like when world title pictures are messy, but I love when they're crowded. And that's not to say you got to like it. But for me, I do think there's a difference. Like, I like the idea that this is the top prize in the company. And everybody should want it. It shouldn't be one at a time. Well, it's Brody's turn. I'll want it next month. Everybody, if you're not the world champion, should want to be the world champion. Not everybody should get the shot at the same time, and I don't think we're going to see everybody get the shot at the same time unless we do get our multi-man match. But everybody should be vying for that title, and doesn't matter if you're babyface or heel, the champion should be sweating. So that's just my opinion on it. Again, if you feel differently, I would love to hear why. But I don't think crowded is a problem. I think messy is a problem. When storylines step on top of each other without servicing one another, that's when it's a problem.
Yeah, I think that's a very good point. Everything so far right now has been kind of intertwined outside of maybe the Brody stuff, but that literally just happened tonight.
Yes.
And also has been like a side thing considering Bandito as well. And I'm good either way, whether it's one person or, it's a little crowded, but it's more about the storytelling for me. So, and this is a nice change of pace. I think a lot of times we get a very linear contenders. So not knowing who the next contender is going to be or where they're going to come from is actually pretty cool at the moment.
Yeah.
Let's see. I know I saw Matt in here. Yeah, MJF was up there with the local girl, the bottle girl. Of course, you would notice that. And Matt also hopefully pointing out that Brody has main evented ROH pay-per-views before AEW, but not much recently.
Yeah.
Thank you, Matt. Fernando comparing Brody to Jacob Fatu. And I know they both bark.
Who do you associate the bark with the most right now? I'd
Willow.
say,
No, I'm kidding.
I think it's a tight race between Brody and Breaker. Because the crowd barks for Braun Breaker. Like they do it for him. But I think Brody was doing it first.
Maybe by a little, but like Braun was always, I think, referred to as a dog, even in NXT.
Yeah.
And I think Brody started.
He was a wolf dog. He was a wolf dog with Corbin.
You know, it says it's Arsenio Hall. Game over. You know it wins.
My goodness.
Yeah, though honestly, those it was also another thing too. Brody was barking for a long time. It's just that I don't think it got over really until around the same time it did as Breaker. So they both kind of did it together. Like I see Maria saying she associated with Braun, but I'm associated with both guys, honestly.
Yeah.
They started doing it so close together. You know, making it 2014 wrestling playoff is too many teams. Ask any college football fan. Yeah, I still think 12 is too many, but hey, the playoffs are good this year. But all right, that's a lot about that. I'm sure we're going to talk more about the title picture tonight as we go through all the matches, so we can continue to move on as we go to what was first a quick recap package of everything that happened with Hangman and Jet Speed and the Ops last week, culminating in Paige and Jet Speed winning the Trios Championships on Collision. For those of you who didn't see, Kevin Knight rolled up Powerhouse Hobbs, who did the job on his way out. Good for him. And they ended up winning the title. So we then go. Go ahead, James.
I think we may, by the way, have a line on what Hobbs's name is going to be in WWE.
Ooh.
I gotta find it. I forget what the last name was, but I'm hearing the rumor is it's going to be Royce.
Powerhouse Royce?
No, like Royce something. I don't know if Powerhouse is going to be involved in it at all, but I mean, I think they're dumb if they don't call him Powerhouse. I think that's stupid. Like you have like a nickname brand there that you could work with, but I think instead of Will Hobbs, it's going to be Royce something, and I'll try to find it.
Well, they should just go Will something, or I don't know. I know they always want to keep their names, but and they make them so different that like you can't really use it if you leave again. But I mean, I don't know. Hobbs is already an established brand. Even if he leaves, we're gonna know who he is when he comes back. Like, whatever. Anyway, we're backstage with Renee, who is interviewing Paige and Jet Speed, and she recaps their past week along with what's coming up for them tonight. Hangman says, with all the things coming up, maybe they need a team name. And Knight suggests Jet Set Rodeo, which is apparently something on the internet because the live thread on Squared Circle was very excited. Jet Set Rodeo, excuse me. I've been doing radio too long. And then Speedball tries to suggest Horsecock, and Hangman cuts him off.
I think we all need to, we've done it before, but we all need to thank the wrestling heavens for Speedball Mike Bailey. This precious gift from above, who, without a moment of hesitation, really tried saying Horsecock on TV.
Not only was that great, but Hangman just cut him off and he goes, I tried that. It doesn't work.
It won't work.
Which is just a beautiful BTE callback. So, I mean, there was about 5 seconds there where I had to pause this for half a second. I was laughing so hard. Hangman then moves on to their upcoming matches, saying he's got one with Shibata on Collision. Bailey's like, you do? He's like, yeah, I just made the match, which is apparently a thing Hangman can do now.
I think all former world champions should have the ability to, make a match here and there.
What I really think it is Hangman has secretly figured out if you just yell something, a match into the microphone, Tony Khan will make the match. That's what I really think is going on here.
Toni really cares about his employees.
Yeah. So unless you're the probably the world champion, I don't know about it. Like if you're TNT, I don't know how much leeway you got to deny it.
Yeah.
But if you're the world champion, you can, like Hangman did tonight. But if you're anybody else, and Tony's like, I'd watch that. Just yell into the mic, I want to fight, this person, and Toni will make the match for Saturday. It will happen.
One of my favorite wrestling memories. This was very, very, very early on. Once Kenny and the Bucks were face, and like they were dealing with stuff after like Kenny's long world title run, Don Callis brought out Takeshita to help Kenny as he was getting beat up. And Takeshita was like in the middle of eating food. And like he's walking out eating the food.
I remember that.
And looks confused. I want to believe that that's what will happen. Hangman's just like, I want to wrestle Josh Alexander. And then Josh just gets like teleported. And like he's eating, he's Canadian. He's eating poutine. And he's just like, Toni made the match. I'm here now.
At some point, Hangman's going to, I don't know, I know he's not feuding with them anymore, but if he did it to the Don Callis family, Don would probably be irate. And he's probably like, what, Hangman just gets to yell things into mics and make matches? This is bull. The other matches, though, for Jet Speed, we had Speedball and Mike Bailey, who's about to go out and face Samoa Joe, and then Kevin Knight is facing Swerve later. And Paige tells Bailey that he knows that Mike's been all over the world, but he's never faced Joe. And Joe is tough and he hits hard. But Speedball is quick and flexible, and you should utilize that against Samoa Joe. Speedball's like, all right, cool. Thanks, Hangman. And he's like, Kevin, you got your big match tonight. You focus on that. I'll go out and handle business myself. And he heads off for his match.
I can't definitively say that Speedball didn't have that conversation with the intent of, I don't have any intention of coming out for your match. You don't have to come out for mine. We're good. We're buds. Like I'm feeling tired tonight. I don't want to stick around for the main event. So just don't expect me, so I won't expect you.
Well, we'll talk about it, but apparently nobody in this trio decided to have anybody's back tonight.
It's a shame.
Knight then asks Hangman how he should take care of Swerve considering their past run-ins. And Hangman just looks at him. He goes, it's going to be a hell of a main event. And he slaps him and he walks away. And Knight's just like, okay. I didn't know how to take that from Hangman. Like, it wasn't a thing where I'm like, oh, he respects Swerve now, so he's not going to tell Knight how to beat him. But there was a part of me that thought that, and then the other part of me was just like, Hangman probably doesn't think Knight has what it takes.
Yeah, that's what I took it as too.
Beat Swerve not because that he's not good or doesn't think he's talented,
but he just knows who Swerve is.
Yeah, and there's a certain level of violence, probably at least in Hangman's head, that you have to get to in order to beat Swerve, and he probably hasn't seen it from the Jet just yet.
Yeah, no, that's what I lean towards as well.
Yeah, the look Kevin gave though, I was like, ooh, heel.
You know what? I'm really glad that you mentioned that, because I swear I thought I saw the same look from Knight last week when Knight and Speedball are in the back, and that's when Swerve first comes, like, it talks to them and says, you're a future main eventer, yeah. And then Hangman did the same, and he was like, you know what, we're going for the trios titles together. Knight looked like he didn't appreciate it. Sort of felt like he thought Swerve was being condescending to him.
Literally, Maria just said the same thing about Hangman.
Oh! All right, Maria, high five right there. Bravo. That was really good. I don't know if I'm reading too much into it, but it looked like that's how Knight was reacting to it last week.
It feels like, to me, he thinks he's getting sunned,
Yeah, a little bit. Yes.
Especially by Swerve.
He's getting big. He's getting little brothered.
Yeah. Swerve especially. It's like, you're the future. Like, and he also, too, is like, I'm the one who suggested you come in here. Like, fucking Kevin owes him something. And yeah, he feels like he's getting a little bit sunned or a little brother, depending on how you look at it. And he's just like, no, fuck you guys. I'm good. I got here on my own merits.
Yep.
And I'm going to go out there and win. And damn, he almost did. But we'll get to that when we get to it.
Came close.
In the meantime, let's get to that matchup we were just talking about. We saw Samoa Joe face off against Speedball and Mike Bailey. And as we were talking about, Samoa Joe had a lot of backup as both Hook and Katsuyori Shibata came down to assist Joe right before the commercial break, where they were able to attack Speedball and stomp him out on the outside as Joe distracted the ref. Shibata also got involved later in the match after Speedball missed one of his knee drops on the apron as Shibata hit 2 suplexes and then a knee breaker before rolling Bailey back into the ring. I like Paul Turner. Boy, he was out of it tonight.
Yeah, a little bit.
To jump towards the end of this match, after Joe got in a coquina clutch, Speedball was able to use the turnbuckles to flip himself over Joe and get into a pinning predicament. So that forced Joe to release the hold to kick out. Speedball then hit a massive drop kick onto Joe and headed up to the top ropes. But then Hook jumped on the apron, literally just like right next to the fucking turnbuckles. But that was enough to distract Paul Turner. And Shibata then jumped up on the apron as well in order to hold Speedball's leg. And that gave Joe the time to recover, get up, and hit Bailey with a huge forearm. Joe then took Bailey from the top rope with the assistance of Shibata and him with the muscle buster and pinned Speedball for the win. So James, look, I like this match a lot. Their chemistry was very good considering the fact they never faced each other. But I like the story they were telling outside of the interference. I just thought the interference, there was a lot of it. Although some people liked it, there was a little too much. There was one I didn't mention where Hook was supposed to like half knock Bailey off the ropes as he was doing a front flip and tweak his leg again. And Hook was a little late, so it looked kind of dumb. But I think what a lot of people are going to take away from this is no one came out to help Speedball. Now, granted, he told Knight to stay in the back. But where Hangman was, it can be a legitimate question.
So real quick before I get into your question and not your question, but this conversation, just wanted to say hi to Tyler, who asked the question that he heard that there's no AEW Collision this weekend. And that is due to the very severe storm warnings that we're getting in the U.S. this weekend, the very severe weather warnings that we're getting.
Yeah, so they were supposed to be in Texas for Saturday's Collision, and they announced AEW that they are indeed canceling it just out of precaution. And it's not to jump the gun on you.
No, I'm glad that you. Thank you.
But they did announce that they are taping Collision tonight. Right now, they were taping it after a Dynamite in Orlando. So there will be an episode of Collision on Saturday. It'll just be pre-taped. And then they are going to be back in Texas next week for Dynamite, assuming everything's okay after the weather and stuff. So.
Yeah. So great move. One, for the sake of the show, just tape it. And two, for the sake of the safety of everyone, just tape it.
Yeah. Especially, like, I know up here in the Northeast, here in New York, we're supposed to get whacked Saturday night into Sunday, maybe even a little Monday. So, yeah, smart move. Just get everybody home, make sure they're safe. And now no one has to move for a week. And hopefully by next Tuesday, whenever people have to start traveling, everything will be cleared up.
Exactly. So, Tyler, hope that clears everything up for you. Yeah. For me,
I haven't even dug my car out yet, and it's going to fucking snow again.
So I had issues with the interference for the same reasons that you had issues with the interference. I thought it made the ref look very inept. That it was like just super obvious that one was distracting the ref so the other one can do something. And on top of that, beyond the ref looking inept, why was Hangman not there? Again, we have storyline reason for as to why Kevin Knight wasn't there. Speedball specifically told him not to worry about getting involved. I would have liked if he still did, because it's like, you're my bro. I got your back no matter what. But it's fine. At least there's an explanation. Hangman, there's no explanation. There is no good reason as to why. Now, break a kayfabe a little bit. Maybe there are some reasons why. We're not really going to get into that here on the show, but there might be some legit reasons why they didn't want Hangman out in front of a live crowd tonight. But just really weird. And again, I agree with you. The match was good. They had great chemistry. It's Samoa Joe versus an X Division star.
Yeah, I was gonna say this is a
is
TNA match through and through.
Yeah, this is his wheelhouse, so it's fine. You are the second person to make that joke today. That was bravo.
Don't break the kayfabe, James.
Bravo. I will say though, I'm more annoyed with the interference just because of how many matches had interference tonight.
I'm now trying to think. Well, one of them was a street fight, so that was okay.
One of them you get away with it because it's a street fight, but it doesn't take away the fact that there was interference in the match.
And then the women's match kind of had it, but it wasn't really until the very, very end of it. And I don't know how much
I
really impacted the outcome.
Oh no, 100% it did.
I guess, like maybe
in 100%. Like, are we talking the tag team match?
Yeah, the women's tag match.
100% it did.
I mean, I guess Toni.
Like commentary even said it. It's like Toni was going to go break up the finish, but she was getting choked out.
Yeah.
So there was just too much interference for me tonight. I don't mind every week if there's interference, but it can't be multiple matches.
Yeah, I guess that makes it 3 of the 5 or 6 matches tonight.
Yeah.
See, Speedball, Street Fight. I'm gonna count FTR, Kenny, and just 6. Yeah.
So that's half your matches. Yeah, that's a lot.
I guess that's fair.
That's a lot.
At least they did them differently, at least. So there was some variety with it. But I understand your gripe.
But overall, very fun matchup. What I love is and they did it with both Speedball and Knight. Even if they're gonna lose, one, they're gonna make you think there's a chance that they can win.
Yep.
And 2, they're going to fight. They're gonna make the winner earn it. So, like, I really enjoyed this matchup. Good start to the show.
Yeah, and honestly, too, with I know Shivani mentioned this during, I think it was the main event, between both Knight and Speedball's showings in the C2, they can now believably beat almost anybody.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because, I mean, I don't know if they both had wins over Okada, but I know at least Speedball did. And
wrestling, I don't know if this is a hot take or not. Wrestling is severely lacking in guys that can both believably win and lose. Like, it's important to have a guy who can eat losses because they're so beloved, Mark Briscoe. But you need them to get wins too. Otherwise, you run into arguments like what MJF said to Brody. Why are you coming for my title? Who have you beaten? And it's a fair argument.
We don't believe you. You got no people. Like,
so just in general, I love that Speedball and Knight are in this position of, well, they have beaten people. Here's the list. Versus, yeah, it's not a guarantee that they're going to win or lose. That's what I think wrestling is missing.
Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense. Just because, yeah, you have so many dudes who seem untouchable that unless it's like a big spot.
Yeah.
Where, and then everyone else just be like, oh, well, they're just fodder. So yeah. I think AEW tends to have a pretty decent balance of all 3. Some quick comments. I know they weren't about what we were talking about, but Rhea's very much enjoying the Timeless Toni Storm and Marina Shafir story. I am as well. We will talk about that later. We will also talk about the debuts of Alex Price and Jordan. I'm going to,
I think it was Oliver.
Yes, Jordan Oliver. They had their debuts tonight. They did very well. And that match with the Young Bucks sounds very, very intriguing there, Tyler. Fernando mentioning some of the problems at the end of WCW was too many matches ending in interference. Unfortunately, a lot of those matches also ended in DQ. So there wouldn't be a winner anyway. At least these all had winners tonight. Yeah. And you tend to almost always get that, actually, with AEW, where even if there is interference, you do get a decisive winner or loser. Just the interference can help protect people, especially babyfaces.
Yeah, For sure.
And then Tyler also filling us in on a pretty big match. It's the GCW World Tag Team champs, so it'll be Jordan Oliver against Alec Price in the Jersey J Cup. So two guys we just saw tonight debut on Dynamite are going to be facing off against each other. That screams Cruiserweight Classic, Ciampa versus Gargano.
Yeah.
And I mean that with respect.
But future Don Callis family member.
Tommaso Why does Ciampa. Everyone think he's going to the Don? I guess it kind of makes sense.
I love Ciampa. Ciampa's been my guy. I was a Ciampa guy more than I was ever a Gargano guy. I love him. And I think he has so much potential anywhere he goes. Quite frankly, I think he's better off in TNA than he is in AEW at the moment.
He'd be a much bigger fish.
100%. If Josh Alexander is going to the Don Callis family, Tommaso Ciampa is absolutely going to the Don Callis family.
I saw somebody suggest that he should go to the conglomeration and hang out with Briscoe because of the beards, and then he just murders Briscoe the way he murdered Johnny.
Yeah, I would love that too. The only other place that I could conceivably see him going out the rip would be the Ops.
That would be interesting.
He fits their vibe. They're a man down after losing Hobbs. I could see he 100% feels like he fits in with Shibata and Joe.
Yeah. I kind of like that. And I guess, Joe, old school black and gold guy, as is Ciampa.
Exactly.
I can kind of feel that. But the only thing I have in my head now is him and Briscoe doing like the Marx Brothers fucking mirror thing. In like a match or something, like Ciampa's like Dave, like he comes in one of those casino whatever matches. Oh man,
that'd be great.
And then they're just in the middle of the ring, like
Yep.
All right, let's keep moving though. Next up, another match, the Death Riders. So we had Jon Moxley, Daniel Garcia, and Wheeler Yuta face off against Don Callis family members because everybody joins the Don Callis family. Rocky Romero, Lance Archer, and my man Hechicero in a street fight, which I didn't know was a street fight going in. So I was very hyped about this. And obviously, that carny piece of shit, Don Callis, was on commentary. Some notes from throughout the match, just a couple of things I thought were interesting. Garcia actually got Hechicero to tap out on the ramp very early in the match.
I like that. I like that a lot.
Yeah, now, obviously, that didn't count because it wasn't false count anywhere. But the fact that he got Hechicero to tap is a pretty big deal.
Yes. Absolutely leads to them having a match one-on-one at some point.
Right. And just the fact that Garcia can be like, I tapped out this dude who's considered one of the best technical guys in the world, is a nice little notch on his belt.
I completely agree. Completely agree.
Yuta got put through the timekeeper's table by Lance Archer via chokeslam, and the table fucking exploded. Honestly, one of the best table breaks I've ever seen. Speaking of Archer, Marina got involved with him. They went face to face.
Spot of the match, right?
Archer tried to chokeslam her, and she countered it into an arm triangle. And then as he went down to the mat, she snuck through his legs and picked the ankle and held him there, and that allowed Moxley to hit him with a cutter. But then he quickly recovered and put Moxley through a table.
Great stuff. That was great.
We had a little bit of back and forth between Yuta and Garcia and Hechicero and Rocky, and then they ended up clearing the ring, and that allowed Moxley to go underneath the ring and produce a board of barbed wire and broken glass. And then he brought it into the ring, and he tried to get Rocky on it, and he didn't. And then Archer came back and chokeslammed Moxley into that. And then he actually pinned Moxley on it.
Yeah.
And that was broken up by Yuta and Garcia. Archer then dragged Yuta to the top of the ramp, and he was going to chokeslam him off of the ramp to the floor. But Pac came out, and apparently Pac is hurt again. I don't know if he's hurt or injured.
Well, I mean, you got to remember, he had the match with Darby where Darby snapped his ankle.
Yes, no, I was going to say he was selling the Darby thing. I just don't know if he was legitimately hurt or not. I hope not.
I don't think so. He was walking fine without it,
I guess. So he came out on crutches and started beating up Archer with one of them. And Archer falls off of the ramp to the floor, still upright. And then Pac just holds out the crutch and fucking Claudio comes in like Superman out of nowhere,
Yep.
dives. As he dives, grabs the crutch, and then dives through the floor and breaks it over Archer's back. And Archer still isn't down, so Claudio slams his face into an electrical box and explodes in Archer's face.
So would you say he came in like a Swiss Superman?
I was going to say Wrecking Ball. It was just the way you set it up. It was too easy. Hechicero then sees what's going on, and he starts to go up the ramp and try to break things up and see whatever the hell happened. But Marina follows him, spins him around, and hits him with the low blow. Back in the ring, Moxley has Rocky in the Bulldog choke, but Romero is able to escape. Unfortunately, he escapes right into Garcia, and Garcia hits him with a pile driver and then locks in the Dragon Tamer. Rocky still refuses to tap out, though, so Mox, who at this point is just like, Danny's fucking got him, Danny's got him. Is this bitch really not tapping? Fine. Mox hits the rope and stomps Rocky through the other side of the earth and just knocks him the fuck out. And Garcia just wrenches back on the Dragon Tamer, and Bryce Remsburg's just like, he's out. Call for the bell. It's over. And then after the match, Moxley goes over with Marina and I think Wheeler, and Marina holds a mic out for Mox, and he goes right up to Don Callis, and he goes, Don, just tell your boy that he knows where he can find me. And then they leave, and that was the match.
I love that. I loved it.
I love this match. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Face Death Riders is something fucking else.
I am so conflicted on all of it because it feels so unearned, other than the crowd just really started cheering for Mox during the tournament, which granted was also the plan.
Yes.
But man, there is no reason the rest of them are faces. Like
that was my thing. Like, yeah, Moxley got himself over as a face because of the tournament and the storyline there, but no one else has earned this.
And bigger, like last week, what Garcia cut an incredible promo. I don't know if you saw it, the promo in like the stairway
on Collision after they went after the Don Callis family. I did.
Yeah. And he cut that promo was probably the best promo he's ever cut.
Yep.
But as good as it was, I'm hearing this is a family. Family watches out for one another. And I'm like, bro, you are the guy who straight up betrayed daddy magic. Your two dads, you left them behind for the winning team. I don't want to hear family. So I don't know, a little bit hard to digest, a little bit hard to take in and take seriously. But either way, I'm here for the feud, even though it doesn't make any fucking sense.
It only really makes sense for, I guess, two reasons. One, Moxley Okada again.
Yes. Well, no.
Or
Moxley Takeshita.
Yes, that's there, but
that's the bigger one. I thought that's the one they're building towards.
Well, I mean, unless I didn't catch all of Collision, unfortunately. I really wanted to go back and watch it, and I just didn't have an opportunity. But you think I had a whole day off, I'd have the opportunity. Nope. So I don't know if Takeshita was involved in that brawl on Saturday. I would assume Moxley was talking about Okada, considering Okada was the guy he beat.
I think the one is the rumors I've been hearing are this is building towards Mox Takeshita. And beyond that, I just think that's the next match. He beat Fletcher. He beat Okada. The big one remaining is Takeshita. Whether he wins or loses is its own thing. But that's the next big one to do. Not saying you can't run a rematch, but I wouldn't waste Mox Okada rematch this early.
Yeah, I was going to say Por qué no los dos, but I think you might actually now have a point because, and Maria, thank you. She's saying that Takeshita was involved in the brawl and Collision. I appreciate it. If Takeshita can beat Moxley and win the title, you then have Takeshita with the title that Okada had, which is going to piss Okada off.
Exactly.
And because there's another comment here from Maria, which kind of leads me into something else. Moxley loses that title, and then you can have the Death Riders turn on him for losing.
Absolutely. Or they even cost it.
Possibly, yeah. So there's a lot of stuff I think they're trying to build to this, but in the meantime, I think they are trying to take a little bit of advantage of this pseudo face run for the Death Riders outside of Mox. Mox is very clearly a face.
Yeah.
And although it does point out Marina does get she gets booed in the women's matches and then cheered in the Death Rider stuff. And I guess
think it's because it's absolutely true, but it's also just because we love seeing what she's going to do to these. She does not hold back against any of the guys.
Yes. Probably because she can go harder against a lot of them.
Like, I look back to when Rhea Ripley was demolishing the guys. Like, she was doing an interview a little while back, or it was an old interview that resurfaced of when she like straight up pressed Gallows over her shoulder and then just dropped him on the ground. Like,
it was a CVV, and I think she might actually hit a full blown. She hit a scoop slam.
Yes, it was a scoop slam, and that's the shit that endeared her to us in the first place. Like, we all thought she was cool, but it's like, wow, you're fucking cool. And that's what Marina's doing. She's beating the shit out of her husband. Like, it's one of the few times that domestic abuse is fun. I don't like that I said that. I don't feel good about any of that. It's never fun unless it's scripted. And even then, it still can be icky to people. So I apologize.
It's only fun in this one context, I think.
Yes. In the world of professional wrestling.
In this specific context of professional wrestling.
Exactly. For instance, by the way, TNA ran an intergender match this last weekend that I fucking hated. But I digress.
Go check that out on the Gym Pack Zone.
But Marina's fucking awesome. My favorite of that version of the Four Horsewomen.
She's been so much fun, and I think that's why she's getting the face pops, and I guess just by association, the Death Riders are getting, except Yuta, because fuck Yuta. Love you, dude. But
with love,
yeah.
Fuck you, with love.
Like, it's really just a context thing. Like, Pat got booed last week against Darby, but he got super cheered tonight because we wanted to see Moxley win.
Yeah,
I guess it's a weird thing where like they are clearly getting face pops for doing the same thing they always did during Mox's title reign, but it's really just because of Moxley. And I think the scenario we just laid out where you end up probably with Takeshita and facing Moxley, maybe getting that title, and then that leads to the Death Rider heel turn, it could probably work. And then you finally get Takeshita Okada. Well, I guess you get the rematch.
Yeah. See, no, I'm terrified though. Because let's say Takeshita does take the title off Moxley. That means we build right back towards another unified title situation. And while I'm all for less titles, I don't want that goddamn title back.
That's going to be one of those things that's going to pop up every once in a while, and you're just going to have to live with it. I'm sorry. But I think it's going to be also one of those things where it's like they make it more prestigious than like either of the titles by themselves, just because this guy is so good, he's holding both. And you get your own sick title.
It's just so contrived.
It is, but
it's just so good. Joe literally was just carrying two belts. And I know one of them is a multi-man belt. It's just so contrived.
It is, but we're here now, so deal.
I don't want to. But anyway.
All right. Moving on, we went backstage with the Triangle of Madness, who were responding to Kris Statlander's, I don't know if she made a threat or whatever she did, challenge from last week on Collision.
She was ornery. She was definitely ornery after last week.
Got to watch Collision. Anyway, Thekla says that Statlander is willing to give out title matches all willy-nilly to a whole bunch of different people. But when Thekla finally pins Stat's all, well, what are you going to do about it? What do you want to do? Like she's not going to get a title match. So what Thekla is going to do is she's going to give Statlander a week to think that her alien bullshit is going to intimidate her and to get all of her affairs in order and say goodbye to her friends and her family. And then next week, Thekla gets her title shot. But there is room for more in the Triangle of Madness, as Sky Blue tells us, as Julia Hart steps up to the plate and calls out Willow Nightingale for a TBS championship match, saying they never got their rematch on Collision, and she now wants it. And then Sky said something else. He only had 2 lines. I should have wrote it down. But Tekla then comes up to the camera, and I should have wrote this down too, but didn't think of anything of it until Statlander referenced it later. But I think she said like she was going to drown Statlander in the toxic or something of that nature, and then she spit on the camera, which cool.
I hope this doesn't awaken something.
Sure, there's plenty of people who already had that. All right, moving on to our next match. It saw FTR face off against Alec Pierce and Jordan Oliver. And
let's give a little background on this.
Yeah, sure. So as I mentioned, these guys were making their Dynamite debuts. They've recently signed to AEW. And personally, I don't know much about them, but they were hyping up, James, their presence and how well they've been doing on the independent scene.
Well, one of the big things was that I believe a week ago, MJF defended the AEW world title at a local indie. And in doing so, I think he defended against one of these two. I'm not sure which one. And afterwards, he announced that both of them were all elite. MJF has known these guys for a long time. He talked about it in a recent podcast that Tony Khan has been wanting to get them all elite for a little while now. So it was cool to see from this viral moment that had happened where MJF presented them with them getting hired in the ring at this indie show to them having this match. And I am always rooting for indie talent to make the jump to the next stage, to the next level. I thought it was nuts that out the gate they got a tag, not title shot, but they were going against the tag champs on night 1. I thought that was insane, but I think they showed up for it.
Yeah, no, I thought they were very, very good tonight. And shout out to Tyler letting us know that it was indeed Alec Price who got the title shot against MJF. And he also brings up another good point that they are still the GCW Tag Team Champions, which I think Stokely kind of shouted out. He made reference to it as he was doing commentary on this match. So that also leads me to our next thing. Stokely was on commentary. And before FTR made their entrance, from his wheelchair, Stokely said that both Price and Oliver picked the wrong night to try to make an impression. And then he called out Davis and Doyle, saying he is hoping they are watching, before directing everyone to helpbigstokely.com so they could donate and help him out
as he was recovering
from his injuries.
Helpbigstoke.com.
Was it Help Big Stoke or Help Big Stokely?
Helpbigstoke.com.
As you check it out, I will say the end of this match was Price getting pinned. He slipped off the coming off the ropes from a top rope springboard unintentionally, but I thought it kind of added to the end of the match, unless he's that good and did it intentionally, in which case, bravo, kid. And while he was able to recover from his stumble, Dax was able to catch his kick. Price then flipped out of it, but then when he ran at Dax sends him into cash and a shadow machine, and Dax pinned Price for the win. But James, I found this match very good for Price and Oliver. It reminded me a lot of that big breakout match that Top Flight had a few years back, where they came in and they just looked really damn good against the Bucks.
Yeah.
And this reminded me a lot of that. These two guys came in, they impressed me a lot. It wasn't just like they had a few of them, but it wasn't just like quick roll-ups and like, they like might win this type of stuff. It was legitimately like these kids busted out some seriously good moves, and they impressed me even in the loss.
So I am impressed by them. They delivered on their first outing on the big stage. They did not stumble. So I give them all the credit in the world. I would like to know a little bit more about them, both as a team and as individuals, because as good as they were so far, nothing really super stood out to me, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want to sound like I'm being critical, because I'm rooting for everybody to succeed in this situation, but they didn't do anything as a team or as individuals that felt unique yet. You know, there was a lot of diving. There was a lot of flipping, and they did a good job. Like, they did not mess anything up. They both looked great. But there was nothing that I was like, wow, this is what this guy is bringing to the table, you know? So obviously it's week 1. I'm very excited for what's next for them. I'm congratulations on getting signed. Congratulations on wrestling arguably one of the best tag teams in the world. So good first showing. I love the finish. I loved him flipping backwards and then going into the shatter machine.
Like, because, you know, I feel like that's a move he's probably done 1,000 times where a guy catches his kick and he flips out of it. And he's like, oh, I got this sucker now. And FTR is like, no, you fucking don't.
Exactly. I love that. So good first matchup. Good first matchup. FTR, beyond being one of the best tag teams in the world, beyond being the AEW tag team champions, they're going to give you a good match. They're going to help you have a great match. They have all the tools to help you succeed. So I think that's another reason why they were a great opponent to help these kids show off.
Yeah, I think one of the spots that stood out in my mind was when FTR was going for the Powerplex and Price and Oliver were able to counter it. Yeah, you had, I think it was Price going up and hitting the Rana onto Cash, and then as Dax tried to hit the Superplex, Oliver was just able to counter it into a falling crossbody. And you know, that isn't like the craziest move ever, but that's just good tag team work from both of those teams. So yeah, very good first showing here on Dynamite. I got Tyler saying they've been in Ring of Honor too, so you know they've been around the blocks. And Tyler is saying this is a match between the best indie tag champs versus the best, obviously the best tag team arguably in the world and the tag champs in AEW. So
all I'm saying is the Hardys are the House of Glory tag team champions.
I was about to ask if they still had those.
And I'm going to give it to the Hardys. No offense to anybody involved, but I'm giving it to the Hardys.
I was going to be like, well, if this main event still has
the same would apply if the main event were the Hard tag team champions. But right, I am by blood, I am obligated to go Hardy here.
Fair enough. And look, these kids are obviously very good, and they're definitely one of the top indie tag teams. But yeah. Now they're here. Now they're in AEW, so hopefully they continue to do well. And I bet you they're going to get some really good matches on Collision coming up.
Oh yeah, for sure. Let them stretch their legs a little bit.
Them versus Top Flight is going to be fun.
Absolutely. Them versus Crew is going to be fun.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, like there's somebody in the comments wrote. I'm sorry, I didn't see who it was. I'll go back in a bit. Somebody said them versus Young Bucks is going to be something to look forward to, and I think
believe that was Tyler as well.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that. So a lot of potential for these kids, and I'm like I said, I'm rooting for them.
Yeah, no, they should be fun. They're going to be great.
Absolutely.
I just wanted to throw out one or two more comments here. If you just give me a second, because I saw a fun one that I wanted to get to. Yes, it was Fernando. There we are. So he had a nice hypothetical here. If you replace Heyman with Don Callis as the wise man of the bloodline, would it still work?
So I would love to tackle this, but I want to hear what you have to say.
I think it works, but I think it works very differently.
I agree. I'm going to say something very. I don't know if I'm being stupid. I think Don Callis works so much better with Solo's bloodline, the MFTs, than he would with Roman's bloodline. Now, we have said, or at least I have said, I don't want to speak for you here. I personally much prefer in the 2020s. I much prefer Don Callis to Paul Heyman. At this stage of managing characters, I would rather watch Don Callis than Paul Heyman. I feel Paul has said everything he's going to say and has done everything he's going to do. And quite frankly, it's a tired shtick for me. As opposed to Don, who is, in all fairness, fresher. You know, he's been doing the heel manager gig a lot more recently than Paul ever did. So, of course, it feels newer. But beyond that, I think Don plays to his wrestlers better than Paul does. That Paul is the same manager no matter who it is. But now, all that said, I prefer Don to Paul. All that said, Paul was the perfect person for Roman at that time. That nobody would have done better. And the reason for that being Brock leaving Paul on his own, he went to the highest bidder and the person who needed him the most, and that was Roman. A newly power-hungry, villainous Roman went to the devil for help. And it wouldn't have worked with literally any other manager. It wouldn't. And the fact that Paul does have a long history with the Samoans and the Samoan dynasty makes it better. And even bigger than any of that, the realization Paul was afraid of not just losing Roman, he was afraid of Roman.
Yeah.
And you don't get that from anybody else because nobody else is going to be as desperate as Paul. So that was very long-winded. If your question, if you replace Heyman and insert Don as the wise man of the bloodline, would it still work? Yes, but it works a lot differently.
Yeah, and maybe, at least it sounds like to your point, maybe probably not as well.
Yeah. I differently. Like you lose Roman versus Brock in the bloodline era, which had some bangers. It went on a little too long, just like everything Roman Brock, but they did have some bangers. So I don't know, but great hypothetical. Hypothetical.
I also think, like, especially too, I feel like Paul's character is a lot more like Littlefinger, and he's, and Don is more forward and outly like slime ball, and Paul's much like he's still slimy, but like it's very much behind the scenes trying to politic his way, not just his guy's way, but also his way into a better position to help everybody. So
big time.
Yeah, it's much different. And shout out to Paul. He's at least willing to get, involved every once in a while.
Oh, for sure.
Don is a chicken shit. We saw that tonight. Like, he just runs for the hills every time somebody's coming at him.
And credit to Paul, too. When they were doing the whole Brock Roman bit, and Paul completely dedicated himself to the character. Like, he stopped dyeing his hair. He went like a day without sleep or a day or two without sleep to show, like, legit to show off being like so disheveled because of everything going on. He was crying on command. Like, respect where it's due. He gave a lot to that group, to that feud, to that program, to everything with Roman. So credit there. He killed it. He did.
Yeah. That was during the solo stuff, I thought. But yeah, either way. When Roman was gone?
It was twice.
Okay,
so
he did both times.
He did it with Brock when he was caught in the middle and Roman was like firing him maybe and everything. Like it was intense.
Yeah.
But that was great.
But if I remember correctly, that all came back around because Paul betrayed Brock in the end of it and stayed with Roman.
Yeah.
Whereas the solo stuff, he was just nervous as shit and then got put through a table.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what's got a good point, though? Don has much better self-portraits than
100%. 1,000%.
And his spray tan is better. Especially in those instances.
Arguable. Well, I don't know.
Don wears a storyline on his forehead.
You have no idea how much I want to know. Like, it's so clear that they're making it darker.
Yeah, he's coloring it in.
But I want to know how bad it actually is.
I don't know. I mean, I don't have a scar on my head. It's a bump, what I guess you can call it a scar, and you can't see it.
I was looking at, like, early Kenny Don stuff. Don still had hair. And I can't even imagine. Like, I didn't even remember that he had hair.
Like New Japan era?
No, I'm talking
Or-
early AEW.
Like okay, that's like I think that's like pandemic era AEW.
Yeah,
because he
Like,
started coming in.
The
as
Good
a star-
Brothers were there. The Good Brothers were there.
Yeah, this was I was gonna say when he first started coming in, it was right after Kenny and Hanger lost the tag titles,
Yes.
and that tournament started.
Yes,
And Kenny started asking Don to come around for his big matches.
for commentary. Yeah.
Yes. One last thing from Tyler on the FTR, Oliver and Price match is that he thinks maybe Nick Wayne can add them to his crew whenever he comes back. And that's an interesting.
Where the hell is Nick Wayne?
He broke his leg. So
Oh,
he must have
forgot
broke it
about
pretty
But
bad.
they had him on TV after breaking the leg, and I forgot about it. But yeah, man, I hope he comes back soon. I miss Nick Wayne. I miss that whole bit.
Yeah. He was fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, so hopefully he gets better soon. I don't know how bad that leg break was, but it must be bad if he's still out. All right, let's head backstage. We had a promo from the Cosmic Babes of Wrath, and I'm obviously doing that to annoy James. Can you imagine Paul Heyman managing Kenny Omega when he was the AEW champion?
This is the more interesting. I don't want to think more interesting, but this is just as interesting.
It is. But I think similarly to does Don work with Roman, does Paul work with Kenny? Yes. But the betrayal and everything after that doesn't hit nearly as hard because Paul doesn't have that quote-unquote familial connection to Kenny.
And I'll raise you one bigger.
Or the
Would
history.
Paul have 69 Kenny? I don't think so.
He might have crushed Kenny had he tried. That was mean. Sorry, Paul.
No, it's okay to body shame him. You know, like, if WWE can do it, why can't we?
In kayfabe.
Paul Heyman, the character,
Yeah.
body shame. Paul Heyman, the human being, we personality shame. We action shame for being a bad person.
Back to the promo here. Statlander responds to Tekla saying that Tekla doesn't understand there's a lot more than her than all the cosmic stuff. So if she wants to try to drown her in toxic, she'll show Tekla how much toxic truly lies underneath. And if anybody on Collision wants an eliminator match, have at it, and she'll show everyone exactly what she means by that. Well, then hops in, says that the TBS championship has, and her winning it has been all about silencing doubt, and that she's been waiting for 2 years to get her rematch with Julia Hart to show her that the light always silences the dark. Harley is incredibly hyped for all of this, and she will also be there for it. That's not what she meant to say, but she's going to be there for the match, ready to punch Sky Blue in the face if she tries to get involved with Willow. And then Harley and Willow try to do the whole Babes of Wrath chant, but Statlander comes around and covers their mouths and say they have all the titles that the Triangle Madness wants, so it's time for them to have some fun.
This is the second promo in a row where Harley has licked Kris Statlander's finger while covering her mouth.
I missed that part.
I did it. I did it. But I don't know, man. I'm tired, bro.
Well, it points out at least that Statlander is doing you a favor by covering their mouths before that.
100%. 100%. I had to endure the timeless love bombs and the Babes of Wrath segment to segment.
Well, luckily for you, there was a segment in between.
Oh, I know, and it was my segment of the night.
Yes, and it was Kenny Omega finally getting his one-on-one match with Josh Alexander.
Years in the making.
Or I guess I should really say Josh Alexander finally getting his one-on-one match with Kenny
Both
Omega.
Both wanted it.
Yeah, fair enough. Let's see. We had started this match with Alexander attacking Kenny from behind during his entrance, choking Kenny out with a towel and allowed Don to get a shot in before he retreated to the announce desk. And then Kenny got thrown into the steps by Josh. Alexander then pulled up a bunch of the padding surrounding the ring, but Kenny was able to recover, hit a moonsault off the barricade, and then he hit a tope suicida before getting Alexander into the ring, and the match started. A couple other things that happened. Kenny hit a Snapdragon suplex onto that exposed floor, so that's how that came back around. I thought they were going to use it more, but turns out.
I mean, they do one more spot with it where Kenny does the
Terminator dive?
Yeah, the Terminator dive right onto it. Like
Yeah.
they both land on the concrete.
Yeah, it was more. I thought they landed more on the padding in front of it, and Kenny just kind of scooted onto the
No, Kenny's lower back absolutely landed on the concrete, but he also did have Josh, who caught him beautifully.
Yeah,
to help him down.
Yeah, so it didn't look that bad, I guess, to me, because Josh caught him so well. But
yeah,
a little bit later in the match, they're on the other side of the ring in front of them. Eventually, Kenny just starts bouncing Alexander's head off the announce desk. And that allows Kenny to get a good look at Don and start to chase him. So Don just takes off and runs all the way almost out of the arena, or at least the floor. And Kenny's like, I'm not chasing you. So Kenny goes back to the ring and he goes to get into the ring, and I guess to break the count. But Alexander picks his ankle as he's doing so and starts to twist it. It was like an ankle. It was one of the ankle locks, but Kenny was still prone on the apron / ring. So it like wasn't high angled. And then Alexander just went, fuck it, and slammed Kenny's ankle into the apron. So then they get back in the ring. Alexander works him over for like a minute and then gets out of the ring. And Don, who had come back to the desk, he goes over and like daps Don up and he's like, see, I got him. And then Alexander is sliding back in the ring and Kenny just runs over and nails him in the head with a V-trigger in the ropes.
Yeah, no, that was amazing.
Just destroyed him, followed that up with the power bomb, and then another V-trigger in the middle of the ring. And then Alexander kicked out of the pin. So Kenny quickly got Josh up and hit the one-winged angel, and obviously that's the end of the match. What happened? Yeah, that was great. What happened after, real quick? They showed MJF watching this match on the screen backstage. I don't think they showed him during the Joe Speedball match.
They did not. To my knowledge, to my memory, they did not.
Yeah.
But if we both don't think it, I'm going to say that it didn't happen.
Right. And even if they didn't, you have to imagine he was watching that because Joe being a contender. Obviously, he's watching this because of Kenny gunning for the belt. And then after that, Kenny grabbed a mic and said that he has to give Uncle Don credit, as Don struck when Kenny wasn't 100% and not at his full potential. But in his new home over Orlando, Florida, welcome to the U.S., Kenny, he is happy to report that he hasn't felt this good in years.
He looked great in the matchup.
He really did.
But
he hasn't looked this good since the Gabe Kidd match, I would say.
Interesting. Okay.
Kenny then says Don doesn't have one member on his roster who can defeat him at the level he is at now. So Don should go back and lick his wounds until he wins the heavyweight championship belt. So James, as you said, this match rocked. Arguably match of the night. It was this or the main event.
It's a tight race.
Yeah.
Bias, I'm going to go this one, but both were incredible. So let's go through some of the matchup. One, I felt my age watching this match because, as they talked about on commentary, Josh Alexander dealt with his own medical issues over the years, that he did have a broken neck that he came back from. And he hit that top rope, fireman's carry front flip onto Kenny.
There's a name for that, and I can't remember what it's called. But it's basically what Kenny always hits when he does the first part of the You Can't Escape.
Yeah. And
rolling senton. There we go.
Yes, thank you. Rolling senton. And all I could
Tyler Bate.
And all I could think was, you've had a broken neck. Why is this a move you're hitting? You shouldn't hit that move if you don't have a broken neck.
Also, into the midsection of the guy who had diverticulitis.
1,000%. And then there was a bit right before we went to commercial where Josh is just straight up hitting Kenny's abdomen. Kenny's laying on the mat and Josh is on the outside standing. And he's just pounding on Kenny's side. I'm like, I know he's okay, but why are we doing this? And then Kenny hits the Snapdragon onto the exposed concrete. And then he hits the Terminator dive. And it was the first time I was like, these kids shouldn't be doing this. Somebody's going to get hurt.
Shoot your eye out, kid.
Right? I loved when Kenny chased out Don. not just because it's just funny whenever Kenny chases after Don. The camera angle was great. It was right out of like Cloverfield or like a found footage Godzilla, where the cameraman, like Kenny's just walking over the cameraman who points it up, and Kenny's got this maniacal fucking laugh, like this, as he's chasing after Don. It was
Maniacal
beautiful
laugh.
and scary.
Maniacal laugh.
I thought all that was great. The finish was a little interesting to me.
It was quick.
It was quick, and I don't know if they went over. Josh was really covering his face after the match, and I wasn't sure if maybe Kenny got him good with the V trigger, which is why they set it up so fast. But Kenny is usually very safe with his V triggers.
I've never seen him miss one.
Yeah, or like, let's be real. It's not even really a knee that he's hitting so much most of the time as it's his shin. So it's like I would hope that he wasn't hurt and he was just selling it. But that one-winged angel had like very little fanfare or like, you know, like dressing on it. He just picked him up. We didn't even really see him get him up for it. And then he puts him on his shoulders and hits it really quickly. So it came quick, and for me, a little not out of nowhere, but like I was not expecting the cleanness of the finish.
Yeah, and I get the story there, I guess, was kind of Josh, you know, being overly confident to the point of cocky, where he went outside and, you know, was joking around with Don.
Yeah.
And that's what led to the finish. And then after that, like him coming back in the ring and getting absolutely demolished by that V trigger makes sense to me.
Yes.
And
yeah,
even it leading to the finishing sequence also makes sense to me.
I agree.
But I think the finishing sequence happening that quickly, I think, was the thing that kind of threw me off. I was like, holy shit. And I didn't mind, like, Kenny win, like, out of nowhere was kind of cool.
Yeah.
But it was very out of nowhere.
It was. V-trigger out of nowhere, one-winged angel out of nowhere. Overall, I really enjoyed the match. As somebody who has legitimately been waiting for this match now for years, I am very satisfied. And I could also say it did feel like if they wanted to go hit another gear, they could.
Yes, I think if you don't have the one-winged angel right after the V-trigger powerbomb V-trigger kick out, you could probably keep going another 15 minutes.
Yeah. So great matchup. I wanted to dive through my television and slap the crap out of Kenny when he was telling Don, either you bring someone now or you come back and lick your wounds later after I win the world title. I will never be rid of the Don Callis family as long as I'm a Kenny Omega fan. I realize this now. The monkey's paw has absolutely flipped me off one too many times to not expect it. I was willing to put money on this last week. I really thought Andrade was going to come out and beat Kenny down. Especially after he was saying no one on your roster can do it. I'm like, well, okay, well, we didn't resolve this from the first time. And there is someone that you haven't wrestled from the Don Callis family. So
I was also thinking in my head, and I know like they're not going to do it again, but Okada can definitely beat you at this level, dude. He did it a bunch of times.
See,
and
but no. The difference is
Kenny can also beat him.
Kenny's saying he's better now than he was when he wrestled Okada then.
And Takeshita too, I guess, because Takeshita could beat him.
Absolutely. But two things. One, Kenny was even in worse shape when Takeshita beat him. And two, Kenny has the most recent win over Takeshita.
Also fair.
So,
but yeah, it's Andrade. I imagine that's the win he gets before going for the title.
Have you ever watched Breaking Bad?
No.
But do you know the meme where Walter White is in the car screaming for Hank to stop? Hank, no, Hank. That was me. Kenny, don't do it. Stop, please. I don't want it anymore.
Well, you're going to get a little while longer. Sorry, bud.
The only reason I'm okay with it is if it delays him going for the world title enough that he's an actual viable contender.
Fair enough.
It's the only reason. that I'm okay with it.
At least you got what Maria called an excellent match and what Fernando called a fire match. So,
I'd agree on both counts, guys.
Yeah. A couple more things we missed. Maria is very upset with the Cosmic Babes of Wrath, saying they should all be suspended for booing the CEO. AEW should not enable bullying. Be a star, kids. And you know what about Harley licking Statlander's finger, saying maybe it was tasty? Bonk?
There's literally nothing I could say that won't send me to jail.
Bonk. Also, you know what? No more titles. I'm good. I'm finally going to be the no more titles guy.
Title, aka Canadian title, and then have only the guys from Mexico and Europe with the title.
I will say, if you make a Canadian title, maybe it gets Ethan Page back to AEW.
Yeah, I mean, he's technically got it right now. He made the North American title Canadified.
Looks good. It does. It actually looks good.
It does. It does.
All right. After this, because we're almost done here, we had the Taz breaking down the submissions from MJF stuff, which was really cool, but we already talked about. And then we went to more team names James loves. The Timeless Love Bombs, obviously Timeless Toni Storm and Mina Shirakawa, facing off against Megan Bayne and the recently returned Penelope Ford. I know they had a match on Collision, but I'm glad to see her back.
Can we acknowledge that Megan Bayne and Marina Shafir have a team name, but Megan Bayne and Penelope Ford do not?
They didn't get that far in the tournament. Well, because they never made it to the tournament.
They shouldn't need to. The
I know.
Sisters of Sin did not become the Sisters of Sin during the tournament.
They became it like right before the tournament, though. It was only a week or two. And then Babes of Wrath was like the second after they won, so the second round of the tournament.
We do not recognize the Babes of Wrath.
This is still a bit of a fledgling division here. Let them figure it out, all right?
What would you call them?
I haven't thought that far. And also a lot of people think that Bayne is turning on one of them, so...
What create a wrestler tag team name can we give them that fits in with the Timeless Love Bombs, the Babes of
Wrath,
and what?
I said the Babes of Wrath.
I do not recall.
You weren't gonna.
Recall.
You weren't going to finish that, so I figured I would.
Appreciate you.
Probably something with blonde, but I don't know. Anyway, also really quick, I was right. Ford did have a UCL surgery in her elbow because they mentioned it on commentary, which would lead. I don't know if she had Tommy John.
I don't think she did.
Okay, I was gonna say if she did and she came back that quick, holy shit,
insanity.
Like I know wrestling is different than pitching, but it would still be wild.
And I know that we all make fun of baseball players for injuries and stuff, but it's still a big injury.
Yeah. Well, because it's literally you're getting your tendon replaced.
Yeah.
So I'm presuming then that she didn't have full blown Tommy John. Well, you just said she didn't, so yeah, she did.
I don't think. I don't think she did. I'm with you. There's no way that she came back that quickly after Tommy John.
Yeah, I highly doubt it. So good. I'm glad she didn't have to have Tommy John because that is a rough surgery. Even though fucking Shohei Ohtani had a 60-60 season after doing it. Yeah. Anyway, one note before we get to the end of this match. Did you see Bayne yeet Mina out of the ring?
All right, so my favorite segment of the match, my favorite portion of the match was Bayne throwing Mina at Toni.
Just airmailing her.
And then once they got up, throwing forward at both of them. That was my favorite part of the match.
Well, I think that was later, right?
No, it was right after.
Oh, I missed after Toni checked on Mina.
I got a little worried because I thought that Mina might have gotten hurt because
so did Toni.
Yeah. And
Mina completely missed Toni. She went like a foot past her. I've never seen a human being airmailed like that in my life.
And then Toni covered her for a while to check on her. But beyond covering her, the camera didn't really pan to her, which is a big sign typically. When someone's actually hurt, they do their best not to put the camera on the person.
Initially, it was right in their face.
But Toni was right on top of her. Yeah. And then they took the camera away. And then after what felt like a long period of time, they did the bit where she had Ford on her shoulders and then immediately yeeted her onto the two of them. And then they went to commercial break.
Oh, you know what happened? I had rewound
Mm,
because I knew the commercial was coming, so I skipped to live so I wouldn't be behind, and I
Gotcha.
must have missed it by that much.
yeah. So it was boom, boom commercial.
Missed
So
it
that's why
by-
I got a little worried. I got a little worried for Mina.
Yeah, I honestly, now that Mina, like, know Mina's okay, it was one of the funniest fucking things
Oh,
I ever saw.
It was my favorite segment. Like, not the airdrop, obviously. Not her.
No,
just-
that's what I think was hilarious.
Well, I don't want someone that get hurt, but
I
yes,
know,
it was
but-
hilarious. It was.
Just the distance that Bayne threw her.
And then
God.
Toni sells it beautifully because she basically gets on top of her, and it looks like her face goes right into her chest, which is so on par for who they are as with their character.
Yeah.
So it was very well handled and very funny.
Yeah, and especially too because you could play it again considering your character, where because Tony's supposed to get taken out by that, but considering the fact she didn't, Toni immediately jumping on top of Mina and checking on her makes a lot of sense.
Yes, big time.
Okay, let's jump to the end of the match. So after Ford hit the Matrix Cutter onto Toni and Toni rolls to the outside, Ford then gets hit with a Hurricane from Mina and gets dropped. So Mina takes forward legs and she begins to set up for the figure four. However, Mina is pimping a little too much, and that allows Bayne, who had been taken down by a Toni DDT, she recovers, comes over, and takes Mina's head off with a diving lariat.
Boom.
Bayne then gets Mina on her shoulders as Ford goes up top, and the two combine for the Doomsday device. And as Ford is going for the pin, Toni tries to get back in the ring, but she is grabbed by Marina Shafir in probably the cleanest run I've ever seen to the ring on the hard cam. And Shafir, who had run through the crowd, takes Toni and puts her in the mother's milk, and Toni eventually passes out next to the barricade as Ford is able to keep Mina down for the 3 and the win. So I like this match a lot, James. Once again, another time slot of death week for the women, but crowd was good. Crowd was very strong for it, and I thought the women really showed out in this match. It was very, very good and entertaining. So we not only continue, I think, the story of Toni not liking Ford and Bayne, but now she's also got her own side problem in the problem, Marina Shafir.
No, I enjoyed the matchup. I enjoyed the story being told. I'm glad that Megan Bayne is getting more Dynamite TV time as opposed to Collision TV time.
Yep.
Both
Marina, the last couple of days.
Marina is killing it, so happy for her in that front. I am kind of getting the shits of Mina just taking loss after loss, though. It basically, since dropping the interim ROH TV title, she has not really picked up a major win at all. Like, arguably, the tag team win over Bayne and Marina was big, but it felt more like Toni's big than Mina's big.
Who got the pin or who got the win in them? Because they fought multiple times. I feel like recently
they fought
problems against the Love Bombs because there was the tournament match and that was a street fight.
Yeah,
and I thought Mina got the dub in that one.
I thought it was Toni. I thought Toni hit the pile driver on after she rubbed her through the glass.
Oh, was that was?
I thought so.
I mean, I could be misremembering. And then
So
I thought Mina got at least one of the wins back.
So they wrestled in the Blood and Guts match, which Mina got choked, but it was Toni who gave up. They wrestled in the Fatal 4-Way, in which Toni and Mina won, so they could declare the stipulation of the match, which they did, which became the the hardcore street fight whatever match that they had that they won, which I thought Toni won. And then they've had some singles matches since then that ended in like interference and shit.
Hardcore holiday death match, just to be specific.
Thank you so much.
I was trying to find the who pinned whom on Wiki here, but I didn't. I mean, I'm sure it's on Cage Match, but I'm being lazy. But yeah, look, either way, I agree with you in terms of Mina not getting enough of the wins, but just Tony's not somebody who's going to take too many losses. I think he did get pinned semi recently, but
I'm not saying I don't understand why it's Mina who's taking the losses over Toni.
It just sucks.
But like Mina's just taking losses.
Yeah.
Like she does not feel special. Like I am going into matches assuming she's the one taking the loss now. I'm going into matches, and I'm not even talking tag team matches. I'm talking singles matches too.
Yeah. And I think Maria does bring up a good point to part of the reason Mina is taking losses for Tony's feuds. That's part of it. Now, granted, Mina is involved in some of those feuds. Mina's got her problems with Bayne, and she should have her problems with Shafir, but it's very clear that that's going to be Tony's feud with Mina on the side.
And look, on one hand, Mina's getting TV time every week.
Yep. And she's over as hell.
Over as hell. Give her wins. Just the occasional win. Have her beat Penelope Ford. I love Penelope Ford. It's her job to lose. That's just the unfortunate reality of the situation. Have Mina get her the win. I said it before. Wrestling's biggest problem is there aren't enough people that can believably win and lose. As of right now, I just assume Mina's going to be the loser.
Yeah, which sucks, but that sometimes just happens. Especially, I feel like it happens quite a bit in AEW. Although last time we all assumed that Josh Alexander won a match, so
it's true.
It does happen. But either way, I agree with Maria here. I know she brought this up earlier, but the Toni and Marina storyline has been good.
I agree.
And I'm looking forward to see how that ends up.
Likewise.
You know what? I actually did know that. All right. So we had after this a quick thing where Roderick Strong became the #1 contender to Claudio Castagnoli CML World Heavyweight Championship match or belt. Excuse me. That match happens on Collision, and then we hit our main event of the evening, which saw Swerve Strickland face off against Kevin Knight. As we mentioned, MJF had been watching some of these matches, and he was in the luxury box sipping on champagne, as Matt said, with a bottle girl there to deliver more if he needs some.
I love that this son of a bitch was just talking about how he has the hottest wife you've ever seen or the hottest girl you've ever seen, and then just immediately is, getting alone time with the bottle girl.
I mean, works for his character.
Bastard.
Anyway, I'll jump towards the end of this match where we had Swerve hit Knight with a pile driver on the barricade. And then Swerve went into the ring and kind of perched himself up on the top rope to see if Knight would make the 10 count. And he did. Barely. He slipped at 9. And I was like, okay, please don't fuck this up. But he gets back in and Swerve's on the top rope and he just starts kind of sarcastically applauding him. Swerve then hit a 450 off of that top rope onto, I believe, Knight's back. And then put Knight in a Dragon Sleeper. But Knight was able to kind of squirm around, and the two ended up fighting over to the top rope.
Knight was able to what?
Squirm?
Oh, I swear I thought you said swerve around, and I was like, damn.
Either way, the two ended up fighting over into the corner on the other side of the ring, and they went up to the top rope. Knight eventually jumped off, but then he jumped and springboarded up and springboarded into a massive Hurricanrana to take Swerve down and send him into the corner on the complete opposite side of the ring. Knight then ran to the corner where Swerve hit the 450 from and hit a coast-to-coast on to Swerve and then followed.
Nuts, bro.
Kid has springs in his legs. He then followed that up with the UFO splash and he hit it and he goes for the pin, but Swerve is a little too close to the ropes and he's able to get his foot onto them. And then so Knight lets the pin go and Swerve kind of rolls into the middle and Knight's like, shit, what the hell do I do next? And Swerve is in the middle of the ring basically taunting the kid, pointing his fingers to his head, being like, I'm too smart for that shit. You got to come up with something better. And apparently Knight took him pointing at his head as hit me in the head because Knight hit a fucking house call.
Beautifully. Beautifully.
It was sick. Knight then gets Swerve up on his shoulders. However, Strickland is able to fight through that. And then the two go back and forth with some strikes, a bunch of kicks from Swerve until they both finally go to hit the ropes and get up some steam. They do that.
Good old shootout, baby.
Knight comes in with his leaping lariat. However, Swerve counters with a house call and picks Knight out of midair with it.
My God, that was picture perfect.
I honestly, for the thumbnail, I was really looking for a decently clean screenshot of it, but they were moving so fast, no one could get one.
Yep. Pure blur.
Swerve's not done at that point, though, as he hits Knight with the Vertebreaker, which I feel like we hadn't seen in a minute.
Been a minute.
From him.
It's been a minute.
Since the Hangman match, I think.
Yeah.
And then he hits Big Pressure and secures the win. James, this match, A, fucked.
100%.
B, this was a very interesting dynamic here between the two men.
Yeah.
Knight, he healed it up a little. Like, he taunted Swerve a little early in the match when he had an advantage. But this really felt like Swerve. He was being a dick.
Yeah.
He was definitely testing Knight.
He was big broing him.
Yeah.
Where I don't want to say he didn't take him seriously, but he was playing with him a little bit. And it was enough for Knight to catch him on several occasions.
Mm-hmm.
And I loved it because it didn't feel like Swerve was giving him the chance to beat him. But because he wasn't taking it seriously, Knight created that chance to beat him, which I really liked. Beyond loving a good shootout, I just loved seeing him hit the initial house call. Because hitting that initial house call was him saying, I'll get you no matter what.
Yeah.
However I got to do it, I'm going to catch you. So well done from both men, particularly Knight, who had way more to prove in this matchup. To go to this question here from Grant of Real Squared Circle. I've seen, by the way, that Squared Circle has had a split off.
Oh.
Hello, just joining now. Where does Kevin Knight go from here? Will he be in another Dynamite main event throughout 2026? I think not.
I can jump in really quick, and I would think maybe yes, just because he has a trios championship, and I wouldn't be surprised if that got Dynamite main event in a defense.
Now, if we're talking purely singles, that's a little bit harder. But I will say they made a point, and we talked about this earlier in the night. They made a point of really elevating both Knight and Speedball during the Continental Classic. Do I think Knight is going to be winning any singles titles in 2026? No, I don't think so. At least not first half of 2026. Maybe back half of 2026, it's a possibility.
Yeah, like non-zero chance he gets the TNT, but...
Yeah. Non-zero chance. But much, much, much higher chance that he challenges for singles titles. And if that's the case, I could see him main eventing a Dynamite here or there. So, as for just where he goes from here, like you said, he is a trios champion. Those belts will be getting defended, I think, a little more frequently. Beyond that, again, something else we talked about throughout the night, it does feel like the Kevin Knight character has a little bit of a chip on his shoulder. Feels like he has something he needs to prove and doesn't really appreciate being not looked down on, but being little broed, whether it's by Hangman or Swerve or whoever. I think this young character has a lot that he feels he needs to show off to. So we'll see. I think I have high hopes for both Knight and Speedball, but coming out of the Continental Classic and coming out of this matchup, I have even higher hopes for Knight in 2026.
Yeah, I think that's a very good way to put it. I thought kind of the turning point in this match, at least for Knight and the character work and the story throughout it, was when Swerve was just allowing Knight to tee off on him.
Yeah.
And land those punches or forearms or whatever to his face. and Swerve wasn't even moving for most of them. And then Knight actually hit him, and Swerve had to turn and be like, all right, damn, he got me. Yep. And it was one of those things where Swerve was definitely trying to bring it out of him. But again, he did it in kind of a douchey way. You know, like you said, he's big brothering him, or, you know, as I called him earlier, he's sunning him.
Yeah.
And I can see that leading towards Knight becoming upset with people who do that to him, whether it's Swerve, whether it's Hangman, if that's something that happens. And perhaps if he perceives something Speedball does as that, perhaps that think so, is the impetus for a possible heel turn in the future. So I think it's great. I thought it was great character work. It really did bring out the best in Knight tonight because he was unbelievable, and obviously great dance partner in Swerve as well.
Of course, yeah.
But I'm looking forward to see what he does here, just because of all that. And I honestly am kind of hoping Swerve or Heyman go up to him, you know, on Collision or next week and be like, look, the reason Swerve did this, or the reason I did this, as Swerve talks to him, is because that's how you're going to improve, and that's how we're going to pull out of you the wrestler we know you can be, and
to get you to show people how good you are.
Yeah, because that's what it's going to take to get to the top of this industry.
Yep.
So, like, yeah, I might have been a bit of an asshole to you, but, you know, that's what I had to do. And maybe that, you know, placates him for a while, but if it continues to happen, then, as I said, maybe we get that heel turn.
Yeah.
I just wanted to hit the other comments here. Maria had said, Swerve did for Knight this week what MJF did for Bandito last week.
I see that a little bit.
Similar, yes, because I think Bandito is on a much higher rung at the moment than Knight is, just because the year Bandito had last year, and he's Ring of Honor World Champion. But I see what you're talking about. Swerve really did put Knight over in the loss, as MJF did for Bandito.
At the very least, the spotlight was shown.
Yes.
Yeah.
Very good point. Fernando called this fire, called it maybe match of the month amongst TV matches, which then arguably you could call it match of the year amongst TV matches. But I would think so, because I honestly love this to the point where, you know, you could throw this in there with the title match from last week, and there was something on like the first Dynamite of the year, or maybe the first Dynamite we covered of the year that was sick that I can't remember off the top of my head. And like those could probably be my top three. I'm really annoyed I can't remember what it was, but I think I could argue those are my top three so far. TV matches on Dynamite.
Yeah.
And Maria calling out that Knight's going to win the TNT Championship around the fall. And I think if he were to win, that's probably the proper timeline.
I think so too. Like I said, I wouldn't see it happening anytime in the first half of the year. It definitely feels like a back end of the year, but I'd be happy for it no matter what. I want to see these titles get diversified a little bit in terms of who's held them, who will hold them. So yeah, good. Keep on pushing. That's all we can say right now. Keep on pushing. He's doing a fantastic job with every opportunity that's been handed.
Yeah. Quick note on Swerve. I know Shivani brought it up. Because we haven't really talked about it. He did put on a lot of muscle.
He really has.
And he looks different, but he's moving the same. So
yeah, he looks bulkier. He looks bulkier, and it's I hate being this guy, but it's helping make him feel like a bigger deal. Like, I don't want to believe to be a main eventer or to be a big deal in wrestling, you need to have a certain look, but it's adding gravitas to his persona.
That's a good way to put it. I was going to say it adds to like him, you know, being like a larger than life character, but yeah, gravitas is definitely, I think, the way to describe it there.
Yeah.
All right. You know what? Saying I thought Cena's last match of the year. Let me check Sports Illustrated.
We're good.
Yeah. We don't have to talk about Cena's last match ever again.
We will though. That's something.
Yeah, maybe. But that was Dynamite, kids. James, as we talked about at the top, very wrestling heavy tonight. Not too much storytelling outside of the matches themselves, just because the majority of the matches were the story, as 3 of the 5 guys gunning for MJF's title all picked up pretty big wins tonight. So that was the story. It was one of those show don't tell type of episodes. But as you mentioned at the top of our show, the wrestling was phenomenal tonight. Standouts obviously being the Swerve night match we just talked about, and the Kenny and Josh Alexander match we talked about a little bit earlier.
This comment from Eric, it shows that he wants to be a top guy and he's hoping Will follows in Swerve's footsteps. I do not want Will to get any bigger. Will's top half looks massive, especially compared to what he was before. So I think for a high flyer like him, he's at exactly the right size.
Yeah, he's put on enough muscle for his frame, especially compared to what he was.
Arguably, if he wants to take that bulk that he had put on and maybe
lean out and get more cut.
Yeah, if he wants to get cut, sure, I'll go with you on that one, Eric. But I don't think that his body type can afford to put on any more bulk than he had before he left. And even that bulk, let me specify, he did not put on fat. He bulked up.
Yeah, similar to Swerve. Swerve is he put on more bulk muscle. But yeah, I would think he would. I don't want to say he would probably have to alter his game a little where he get bulkier. And I don't know if at the point in his career where he wants to completely change it. Obviously, he said before, he's like, there are certain moves I can't do anymore. He knows he can't. It's the high flying stuff, just because part of it he hasn't done them in such a long time, and part of it is his body has changed. Yeah. But if he goes, I think, any further, then he's going to lose the ones he can do right now, and I don't think he wants to at the moment.
And even Eric says too, or the MJF route where he just leans it out. And I think we're on the same page there. But I think Ospreay right now has a main event look. Swerve always had carried himself like he had a main event look, but has really added on to that.
Yeah.
And Kenny, again, not just me saying it because it's Kenny. Kenny's body looks pre-injury, pre-sick, in my opinion.
Yeah. He also looks a bit bulkier, but that's also something that happens when you get older as well.
Kenny's abs are way more apparent than they've been in a while.
Well, probably because he could properly work them out for the first time in a while.
So I'm eating good. Just finishing
also
up.
Bulking up over there.
It's saying MJF is going to start getting really nervous and maybe bring in a henchman. I don't know who's left. There's one name out there that I would love to see, but I don't know what his contract status is.
Come on.
No, I knew. I saw it. I wasn't acknowledging it. But
he threw that up off the backboard to himself, and then you took it and decided, you know what, I'm going to throw it up there again for him.
I'm just saying I would love to see Hammerstone be his bodyguard.
That'd be cool.
Yeah.
I saw people joking around if they should get also more dorks like Cruz to be around him.
Yeah, but that would be funny.
I saw somebody say Nakazawa should betray Kenny, and I was just like, no, it makes no sense. It would be funny as shit for 5 minutes.
Yeah. Oh, that would be great.
Yeah, who knows?
Yeah. I very much enjoyed tonight's Dynamite. I'm right with you. I wish there was a little bit more cohesive storytelling, but it just wasn't. It was there. It just wasn't blatant. We weren't, like you said, we were being shown. We weren't being told. So I very much enjoyed this Dynamite. Perfect timing for this question from Grant. Do you guys believe that Dynamite had enough story progression tonight? It felt like it was more of a stall, and rather than continue stories, they repeated most of the story beats from last week. So just to sum up what sort of we had said throughout earlier in the pod, it's one of the issues with having their pay-per-view schedules so early in the year be so spread out. We are not hitting a pay-per-view again until March. So their last pay-per-view was December. That's 2 full months without a pay-per-view. So that's why we're seeing Bandito get the TV title match. That's why we're seeing most likely Brody King get the Dynamite title match as well. Tonight, as my partner here so beautifully put it, was about subtly moving stuff forward and this being a building block night. We talked about how earlier MJF is chum in shark-infested waters right now. Kenny Omega is gunning for that belt. They made that clear last week. Swerve is gunning for that belt. They made that clear last week. Samoa Joe is absolutely wanting to reclaim that title. He's made that clear. All three of those men got major wins tonight. Major win. I hate.
You don't have to acknowledge it. I'm just going to do it.
I can't not. It's there. They got major wins. They got big wins tonight. So you add that on top of Brody King, who has made it clear he's got a problem with MJF, and MJF has made it clear no matter what he says, he's afraid of Brody. And then you sprinkle in maybe Hangman or even one of the other trios guys in Knight or Speedball. MJF has a very full plate in front of him.
Yeah, we got a stew going, yo.
Whether that turns into a multi-man match for the title or that turns into MJF defending against most, if not all of those guys, this was their way of saying, I'm coming for what's next. Kenny, after beating Alexander, I'm gunning for that title. Swerve, he had MJF watching him because he's not afraid of him.
And praying, I laughed a little bit. Yeah, I did.
And Joe rebuilding himself after the loss, after losing both of his titles. So while there might not have been a lot of segments that have pushed the story forward, this was an example of there being clear storytelling through the matchups themselves.
Yeah, because the long-term story of MJF at the moment, or, I want to say long-term, like in terms of like, who wins the title off of him. Yeah. But the next month or so is MJF telling these guys, Brody especially, because he doesn't have any, to get your wins up.
Yeah.
And that's what those three guys we talked about did tonight. Hangman got his big win last week by winning the trios titles. And even though he didn't get the pin, still now a champ.
Yep.
And he'll probably get something next week or on Collision. I don't know if he's got a match. Oh, yeah, he's fighting Shibata on Collision. So
yeah,
he'll probably
he made it happen.
Yeah, he'll get his win there. So, all these guys are, like I said, they're getting their wins up and they have to beat people. And that's the story they're telling right now. And it's what they laid out last week. And now these guys are doing it this week. So between that and them progressing certain stories with shorter backstage segment, like the women's division with the Cosmic Days of Wrath and the Triangle of Madness all basically facing off against each other next week, with Statlander and Thekla having their match. And then, Willow and Julia, I believe, are fighting on Saturday.
Yeah, on Collision, yeah.
So they progressed that as well. And they were setting up things for Collision and next week, too, to keep the week-to-week stuff going. So I thought there was plenty of storytelling. But as we mentioned, AEW a lot of times is a show-don't-tell type of place. Yes. And tonight was very much show. There was there was barely a sprinkling of tell.
And don't be shocked if next week you have Swerve and MJF getting back in the ring on the mic together.
Yeah.
Or any of them. Hangman. Kenny feels like the furthest away from it. But any one of them will probably confront MJF next week. And that's only going to be viable because of how tonight played out.
Yeah, or even if it's not in the ring, like I could see them going up to MJF backstage.
Yep.
So like, hey, I got that win. I'm coming for you, and then him being like, like if it's Swerve, him being like, what, against Kevin Knight? Like, yeah, the kid's good. He's gonna be good one day, but he's a kid. Like, you haven't beaten anybody yet, and he keeps denying them, that their wins are any good until inevitably he can't anymore, and then you end up getting whatever combination of matchup you end up getting between these guys.
I'd also argue, because I'm looking through the card segments-wise, match-wise, and obviously matches outweighed segments tonight, but I'd say there's really only one match on the entire card that didn't really propel any stories forward. And I'd argue, FTR versus Alec Price and Jordan Oliver. Everything else served the narrative purpose of propelling the story forward.
Yeah. And what that ended up doing was it was a tune-up match for FTR before their title match next week. And Davis and Doyle get one on Saturday.
Yep.
And then it also helped introduce the brand new tag team that you just hired to the AEW audience. So it had a purpose. It wasn't like a throwaway match. It wasn't a squash. But yeah, it didn't really progress a story too much because we were just basically in the holding pattern until, at least in that specific instance, until the tag title match next week.
But great question there, Grant. Thanks for chiming in. Thank you. If you have any other things you want to discuss, please throw it in the comments. We appreciate it. We love talking with you guys.
Yeah.
Eric,
welcome to the channel, Grant. I think
Yeah,
it's your
welcome.
first time here, so appreciate you joining us. And you've helped contribute to some very good conversation, so thank you.
Yeah. Eric saying Kenny versus Will at All In for the title.
You know what I'm going to say to that? I'm going to say to that, that's your Sunday show, buddy. Keep that shit there.
No, I
I'm kidding.
I know you are. I know you caught me off guard. I think it's the most likely, considering Will has publicly said that's the match he wants to have. And I think all the other, like, they've all been done, but they've all been done more recently. Like Swerve Ospreay happened while Swerve was champion, which was what, 2024? Ospreay Hangman happened 2025. I'd say Ospreay Kenny, which happened probably I think 2023, was the furthest away, and will just be that big match feel on at All In if we go that route.
Yeah, I mean, unless MJF hangs on to the title all the way till then, but I still think it.
I don't think he will. I think he's going to have a quick reign with lots of defenses. That's been what my story.
Yeah. I do think Will ends up getting it either way in Wembley this year, though, assuming he's healthy.
Yeah. Grant saying that he wishes there was a little more to chew on. The story progression of Swerve gets +1, Kenny gets +1, Moxley gets +1. It's just not as interesting by only showing and not telling. And on some level, I am going to agree with you. I think there always needs to be a balance. I am not a big fan of the argument, and I'm not saying that you're saying this, but I'm not a big fan of the argument that a lot of fans have that I straight up read today on wrestling Facebook, which is just an abysmal place to be.
I can only imagine what that's like.
Wrestling is not the most important part of wrestling. And I understand the logic behind that statement. Yeah. Story is the most important part behind wrestling. I get that concept. I get that that notion. But they're supposed to ideally go hand in hand. Story serves wrestling, wrestling serves story. It's meant to be like the snake eating itself. It's meant to be just a constant follow through. And I think all of that is going to lead into next week. And I think next week is going to be where we get a lot more tell and a lot less show. And I don't want to turn this political at all. But AEW has had a company on its heels for the last several months. I don't want to say on its heels, but a company that has been very much publicly vying to be number 2 in the country, and that's TNA. And while I love TNA to my core, I don't think TNA is going to be in a position to do that, but they just had their huge debut on AMC last Thursday. I'll be covering episode 2 tomorrow, so come check us out on the Gym Pack Zone here at the Market Down Podcast tomorrow. But many people, including TNA talent, will tell you that AMC debut was a flop.
Yeah, I saw they thought it was messy and the vibes were very negative.
And the show only had 3 matches on 2 hours of wrestling. That's bad. Okay. That's bad. So, and unfortunately, the bigger issue, their ratings were not great. Now, AMC is not the network that USA is, or TBS is, or TNT is. It's just not. But their ratings were lower than Collision. And I read and I've heard reported that AMC is very happy with what they got, and they're very happy with the show they got. They're very happy with the ratings they got. But I think AEW on some level was making a statement of this is where the best wrestle. I think that was unintentionally intentional following last week's Thursday.
Yeah.
So,
and I think it worked out, like even because they were allowed to let the best wrestle and really put on some great matches tonight, while subtly continuing the story. So I think I think to your point, Grant, and to your point, James, there does need to be a balance. This did lean very heavily into one side of things, and next week might skew a little bit back towards the other side just to balance it out. But I think for the most part, AEW does a pretty decent job of getting the balance right on a per episode basis. This was just one of those where it skewed wrestling heavy, and I'm not going to complain because people love the storytelling, and I don't think you can have a great match without storytelling from a technical standpoint, but you can't have a great match without storytelling. Just like an all-time great match without storytelling.
Yeah, even if it's a subtle story.
Yeah,
you need story. Let's just finish up these comments here. Challenge accepted from Eric.
No. No. I'm not. I'm sorry. My dogs and my sled are just not going to be up to the task.
Eric saying he'd rather see Kenny versus Will than Will versus MJF. Honestly, I'm the same. I enjoyed their feud over the international title.
I forgot about that.
Or the American title, as MJF called it. But I'd agree. I'd much rather see Kenny versus Will, especially where Will is now. Where Will carries that torch of AEW so passionately. He's a babyface. Kenny's a babyface. It's a very different dynamic. I would much rather see that.
I don't know why memory hold the MJF Will feud. I just did.
I think because I think the American title was kind of cringy.
I found it hilarious.
It was, but yeah.
I also found it hilarious because he defended it in Mexico, and it was so fucking funny.
It's saying the MJF elimination tournament, MJF forces them to defeat themselves one by one until there can only be one. That was an idea that we did float earlier. Rev was a big proponent of that.
Possible.
What?
I said it was possible. I don't know if I'm a proponent of it.
My bad. You brought up the notion.
Yes.
Where they just have to eat each other to get to him.
Highlander.
So it's possible. I would rather see them all get the shot, but let's see. We're getting there. Grant saying it was a huge flop. Then they proved 2 nights later with Genesis that they can have a good show with good production. I don't know what happened with that debut. Look, I'm going to talk a lot more about it tomorrow on Gympact, but what I'll say now is I've seen a lot of explanations. I don't want to say excuses, but I've seen a lot of explanations. Visa issues were a thing where a big problem where they lost a lot of talent that couldn't come out, couldn't make it to the show, and that's going to continue to be an issue. I saw, obviously this is just true, they've lost a lot of talent from when the AMC deal was announced to the actual debut on AMC. Jake something / Doyle, the Rascals, Killer Kelly, they've lost people. So I think that was another factor that TNA was not expecting to be down so many people, which is unfortunate. My ultimate response to all of that is don't book matches if you aren't 100% sure that you can deliver them. Visa issues are tricky, and no one is denying that they aren't, but they don't pop up out of nowhere. Like, even though the United States just made it a lot more difficult visa-wise with work, not denying that, they had to have had some level of this might be an issue. Don't book a match if you're not 100% sure things are going to be cleared up. And don't promote talent if you don't have them under long-term contracts. Jake, Kelly, the Rascals, everyone who left, they all got posters from AMC. Kind of a silly thing to do if you don't have them locked down. So that's ultimate. And even beyond that, where was Nick Nemeth? Where was Steve Macklin? There was a lot of talent that didn't show up on that first night. So all things that need to be dealt with. I'm confident going into week 2, things are going to pick up. Because I agree, Genesis was a great show. Eric saying, he says he'd rather Kenny versus Will because if you're going to do the obvious win, then I'd rather just have a better match. Great point. Great point. And it would feel a lot better for Will to have that coronation over someone like Kenny, in my opinion.
I did get the Highlander reference, don't worry. That's why I said it. But all right. On that note, I'd like to thank everybody so much for watching us here at the Markdown Podcast. We appreciate it if you like to subscribe. If you like the video, let us know that you enjoyed this episode. We keep cranking them out here every week, which we usually do anyway, but the likes are nice. And if you subscribe to the channel, you can get all the great stuff here on the pod. As James had mentioned, he will be doing the Gym Pack Zone tomorrow night to cover the second episode of Impact on AMC. So for those of you who like that show, be sure to head on over here afterwards. Sunday, as I mentioned, assuming there is not a metric fuck ton of snow, which there apparently is going to be, Danny and Eric, along sometimes with Matt or James, are doing more of a sit-down studio type show where they're discussing a lot more hypothetical stuff like Eric, and long-term stuff like Eric was talking about in the chat. So be sure to check that out if you want to, go through some of the stuff that can come along in the future. Maybe some of the stuff that has been happening backstage or behind the scenes that we don't necessarily get to during the lives here after certain episodes. And also, too, when Raw is good, Matt and James will cover it. Plus, obviously, Dynamite here every week for you guys on Wednesdays.
The TNA giveaway winner will be announced tomorrow during the Gym Packed episode, so be ready.
I was going to ask about that, but no.
We kept getting people slinking through, so I didn't want to cut it off. But tomorrow we will announce the winner.
Awesome. So yeah, definitely be sure to subscribe, and you can know if you won the Jeff Hardy swag bag tomorrow night. For those of you who want to follow us on our social media stuff, Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, Twitter, Blue Sky, all in the description below here on YouTube. You can have all those links there. And if you're watching us over on Twitter or on Facebook, you want to follow some other places, Mark It Down _pod over on Twitter. Instagram is at Mark It Down Pod. YouTube.com/markitdown3665. markitdownpod.bsky.social over there where I live. That is my domain. Or just search Mark It Down Podcast on any social media platform, and you should be able to find us. And if there's one we're not on, I don't know, let us know. Maybe we'll start a new account. James, any final thoughts before we go?
Unfortunately, I got to reveal to you guys I will not be around at all next week. So I won't be with Rev for Dynamite next week. He's going to be soloing unless he can convince Matt or somebody else to join him. And unless I could really get someone to cover TNA for me next week, unfortunately, no Gym Packed next week. But I am really, really hoping I will be back for the Rumble.
Cool. Can't believe you're leaving me alone on my birthday, Dynamite.
I know. I'm sorry.
It's all right. Oh, for this traitor James DeSanti, my name is Nick Cummings.
I'm not Michael Rappaport, I swear.
I saw they voted him out before, they knew he wasn't a traitor and they voted him out because
they just needed to get rid of him.
That's mad funny. All right, so for James DeSanti, my name is Nick Cummings. Thank you so much for watching us here at the Market Down Podcast. Have a good one, everyone.